Hey guys, it's James, and we are here at Fort William in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And one of the things I love about Great Lakes cruising is the fact that you get a chance to learn about stuff, explore different cultures, see parts of the country, parts of the continent, depending on what country you hail from, that you wouldn't otherwise see if you weren't on a cruise ship. And Thunder Bay is actually a really undiscovered hidden gem that I've wanted to come to for a long time, but I haven't had a chance to. But now here I am as part of Viking Expedition, and we're doing an awesome Great Lakes cruise.
So Fort William, it's the largest fur trade post belonging to the Northwest Company. So we have about 90 or so posts spread throughout the interior. That's everything west of Montreal. And of course, at each post, we have trade happening throughout the year. So our clerks of the company throughout the year, are doing trade with Indigenous people for fur. Now, we need all that fur from those western posts to make it to our headquarters over in Montreal. But there's a bit of an issue there, you see. One canoe can't make it all the way from the furthest western post to Montreal and back before everything freezes over. Maybe if I was leading the canoe anyway, we might make it, but most voyageurs can't keep up with a pace like that. Their arms would fall off from all that paddling. So that's why we have Fort William here. It's serving as a middle point to cut all the travel time in half. And so what happens every single year is that we have two groups of voyageurs. We have wintering voyageurs like myself. We spend our winters out west, working throughout the season at those posts, freezing our limbs off. And so we'll be paddling in with all the fur that's been traded for. Now, on the other end, coming in from Montreal, of course, you have your Montreal voyageurs. To be honest, they're not nearly as hardworking, nor as good-looking, might I add, as we winters. But, they're still important because they're bringing in all the trade goods. Things like blankets, pots and pans, all the things that are going to be traded out for fur out west. And so every year, around July or so, we have our rendezvous, that annual meeting. We'll meet in the middle here at the fort. And then, of course, we will have a certain amount of work to do while we're here to make sure everything's running smoothly. But beyond that, it's a bit of a vacation for us, for the most part. We have all sorts of partying, singing, dancing, drinking, all sorts of good times that you are all unfortunately a bit too early to experience.
So one of the first things you realize when you arrive at Fort Williams is just how huge this place is. It occupies about 250 acres of land, and while it's not the original site of Fort Williams, they did a really good job of bringing 1815 to life. That includes not just First Nations people or the French, but kind of a mixture of everybody, showing how things were truly a diverse group of people who were working together to share stories, share trade, learn from each other, grow. I'm sure there was some bad stuff that happened too, but that's really not the point. But they did a great job with the cast here, making sure that they were in character all the time. And this even encouraged the guests themselves to take part in the experience. And, that was one of the more fun things that I've had in a long time, because it wasn't just me going around observing things, taking pictures, and trying to tell a story. But it was truly me as an explorer of this frontier area, learning and thinking and trying to create my own connections to it. And as you walk through Fort Williams, you discover that it's truly a community that was set up for, life, and not just a military fort with guns and cannons and that kind of stuff. And there was guns and cannons in the blacksmith shop area, but as you walk through, you see an apothecary, you see the trading post, you see a tailor shop, you see the sleeping quarters for the wealthy traders and the merchants that were at the head of the company. But then you also saw out front the area where the Native American First Nations people stayed. And that really helped put everything in context and better understand what this history was, because ultimately, while the United States was settled in large part due to military conquest, most of Canada was settled due to trade and exploration and the efforts of the French and the corporate interests from England. And that was a very different story, very different perspective on westward expansion than me as an American had experienced. So from a guy's trip perspective, this is a pretty cool place to visit, because you got really an interesting perspective on history that you don't see that often in the history books, whether that's looking at the cannons and the fire trucks, but also the canoes and how things are built. It was really a place that I would absolutely recommend you guys visit on your next guys trip to Ontario.